podcast host Keegan, and this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Arlene Cohen Miller, and she is a work life harmony and leadership coach. So we've got a coach that's actually got an expertise. So, Arlene, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks, Keegan.
Sweet. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you on. And having a specialized coach is pretty awesome too, because a work life harmony and leadership coach, there's a lot in there. So, why don't you tell us real quick what it is that you do?
Okay, well, I guess the reason I started was because I'm a retired attorney, so I went to law school, and I that was my backstory.
Mm
And when I started my first law firm when I was 29, I became pregnant immediately,
hmm.
and all of our family was in another part of the country, and I had no one to support me.
Ah,
There weren't coaches back then,
mm,
and that's where I really needed to have someone to teach me about work-life harmony and how to lead myself and how to be a mother and a businesswoman all at the same time. So I really feel that it's not just, just women. It's just a really difficult world now. When
mm-hmm,
I was growing up, I had a stay-at-home mom, and my
mm-hmm,
dad went to work, and it was kind of like the leave it to Beaver family kind of thing. I don't know if that thing exists anymore, but
mm-hmm,
it was stressful, but it wasn't the kind of stress that people live with today, where you're spinning all these plates at once. So
mm-hmm,
and a lot of people talk about work-life balance, but to me that feels like perfectionism. And can we ever really reach that? I don't think so. But when we
mm-hmm,
have more harmony in our lives, when we feel more um, healed from the inside out, when we feel more grounded and fully present in our bodies, and we feel more able to handle whatever life presents because of that space that we're holding, we can still have all the same challenges and obstacles and difficulties, but it's a lot easier to move through them. And we can kind of also be able to look at what's not a priority and throw it to the back of the burner and not
mm-hmm.
think that we have to do everything at once. So, harmony to me just feels like a state of being, that I help people to strive towards. I don't know if we ever get there, but we can certainly feel better than we do when we're just totally stressed and overwhelmed and feel like we can't get up from the floor. And I've been there in my life. And so I really appreciate having these skills and being able to share that with other people.
Oh, wow. That is really awesome. And I'm super glad that you've made it through all of your challenges and tribulations because now you are doing the hard work of teaching others how to do that kind of stuff. And you're right, this world is absolutely crazy. And real quick, does your background with being an attorney help you in this whole regard?
Oh my God, yes. Learn not to take any crap off of anybody as an attorney, especially as a woman attorney. There's a lot more women attorneys now. I was like about the third generation. And
Mm.
I mean, it really taught me marketing skills, organizational skills, leadership skills. I've been a part of an organization called the Commercial Law League of America, and I've gone all the way up the ranks in the leadership in a national organization. So
Oh, wow.
I've learned leadership skills firsthand. I mean, I love getting out there and doing that stuff. I didn't like practicing law that much, but I loved marketing and settling
Hmm.
cases and things like that. So I just sort of gravitated towards what I did best in the law firm that I was in. And so, yeah, I really feel like anything we do, it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be the law. It's like whatever your passion, whatever your hobbies, whatever like makes your heart sing, whatever you've learned is all going to contribute to whatever we're doing today.
Ooh, yeah, I like that a lot. So you actually found a way to pull the past into the present and build a road to the future too. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think we all do. People get impressed because it's an attorney, but it really doesn't matter what your
Hmm.
prior stuff is. It can contribute. I think it all contributes to now.
Yeah, and you have a good point because if we decide to, toss our past experiences to the side and say, well, that didn't have any merit, well, then I wouldn't have the lessons that I got from it, right?
Right.
So, whenever you're helping someone find harmony, you are definitely in the same ballpark with me because it does sometimes seem like trying to find that work-life balance is perfectionism. And I've had to sit there and juggle my own schedule and flip-flop it to see what really works. And it seems like nothing really is like good enough. So,
That's because
uh,
we set unrealistic expectations of ourselves and say we're going to get everything done in a day that could take us like a month. I'm
Uh,
exaggerating, but we do that to ourselves, and then we set ourselves up for failure because didn't get it all done. We
mhm.
underestimate how much time every single thing is going to take, and that's just really not very kind. And so it's
Mm.
nice to help people not to do that to themselves because I used to do that all the time.
Yeah. So in your experience, is it because you would try to stack too many plates up at once? Um,
You like my analogy?
yeah.
I don't know. It's just like I always thought I could get more done than I could. I mean, I was
Hmm.
pretty fast and good at what I did, but you just get burned out. You need to take breaks. You need to maybe accomplish a few things and, take a little bit of a sanity break and then come back
Hmm.
and that's a better way to get things done, I feel. And also just setting priorities. A lot of things we think we put at the top of our list maybe
Hmm.
doesn't really belong there. If that stuff
Yeah.
we really don't want to do that we've shoved under the pile, that if we got it done, we're going to feel
Hmm.
so much better and take a deep breath and everything else is going to feel a lot easier.
Mm. So kind of like swallowing the toad almost, right?
Yeah, that book. Did you read that book by Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog?
I have not, but
It's a good book.
I've actually heard about it in a interview not too long ago, and so I was like, that sounds like a book I should read, and now you brought it up, so it's definitely something I should read.
It's just a really skinny, tiny little book, and the premise is that if you eat that biggest, ugliest frog at the beginning of the day, what you really don't want to do, you
Mhm.
get that done, and everything else is icing on the cake. There's a lot of good other ideas in there.
Mhm.
He's a really smart man. He's real. I think I don't know if he's still alive or not, but he is amazing. His
Mhm.
books are small, short, sweet, to the point.
Okay. So something that's really accessible and easy for people that have shorter attention spans nowadays, right?
Yes, I'm right there with you. Yes, I have a child with ADHD, and he's always told me, "Mom, you're the genetic carrier," and I never thought he was right, but he is right.
Yeah, so being someone that is undiagnosed ADHD, I'm sitting there like I love structure, but I also hate it so much. But if I can choose my structure, I'm great. But it's really hard to find that kind of balance. So if you're the person that was carrying the ADHD, do you look back and now see moments where it was like, oh, hey, that would have been something
Sorry.
to, oh, you're fine, you're fine. Uh, Looking back,
I don't know why I have a frog in my throat now.
speak of the devil and they shall appear, right? Um, But looking back at your past, do you see moments of ADHD being either undiagnosed or something that you see in people nowadays that you wish you had known back then?
I don't know if I have ADHD, but I do have some ADD tendencies, and I do think
Mm.
I'm a little bit, what, neurotypical? Is that what they call neurodivergent or whatever it is?
Hmm. Yeah.
I know I can feel that because I was always super sensitive, and
Mm.
empathic and like things that wouldn't bother anybody else, I would just knock me over. So
Hmm.
um, I, I mean, when I was like 19, I just started like running and working out and getting out my energy that way. I can't really do that anymore. Yoga helps. So
Mm.
I've always found that doing things with my body really helps to manage all of that.
Hmm.
So I don't know where I am on whatever thing. I actually really don't care. I mean, I know I'm neurodivergent. I know that I have the ADD tendencies.
Hmm.
I try to just use them to the best of my ability. I think there's an upside to all of that stuff too. I think we
Hmm.
tend to be really creative. So I just do the best I can, and if I feel like I need to get away from the computer, I go out in nature or do something else.
That's awesome. And it does sound like you have a really good intuition of what your body needs and wants.
Yeah.
And is that kind of the premise of finding a work-life harmony?
I think so because when I was a young attorney, you know, I could hear my human bit of me going, "You did a really good job. We're tired. We need a break." I'm like, "Eh." And I just plow right through it. And then feel horrible because I
Hmm.
just was pushing myself too hard. So I'm much better. Um, in my older age, just saying, I'm gonna take a break. I'm not
Hmm.
perfect because I get like really into stuff, and then 3 hours passes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get away from my computer. But yeah, I think it's a skill that we all need to nourish because nature is so healing. You know, you get
Hmm.
out in nature and you just feel better.
Yeah. And there's actually studies out there that say just being around nature, being around trees can increase lifespan and a lot of other mental health benefits that wouldn't really seem to be really present just being in nature. Why do you think that being in nature really does us good?
Well, I can get a little out there woo-woo with you if you don't
Okay,
mind.
yeah,
But so
I
the
love it.
energy, so Mother Nature is not a being. It's like an energy of like divine love, divine wisdom, and divine power.
Hmm.
And so when we just go out there and we partake of her, and we're not sucking her energy, but we're just, in gratitude and loving her and enjoying nature,
Hmm.
um, we get nourished, she gets nourished. And so it's an energy that's there for everybody, but everyone's so like caught up in scientific evidence that you have to have a study that says X, Y, and Z by 50 bazillion people before anyone is going to believe anything. It's
Uh-huh.
like, oh my God, just go out there and feel something.
Yeah, and I love that because I'm right there on the same lines, and it's just nice to hear other people, be in the same ballpark, even if we haven't talked before, and we just can experience something similar.
Yeah.
Um, and I always feel like being surrounded in our environment that we sit there and put so much stress on ourselves, we end up it's essentially creating like imprints where we're at, and then being around it kind of reminds us that it's like, oh yeah, I forgot I'm really stressed. um,
Yeah.
and so I like to do some spring cleaning every now and then because I feel like it really does get the energy in the house kind of moving around and stuff like that. So do you think that there's something to that too?
Oh my God, yes. I love feng shui. I got a little book and I recently started doing it again, but it just, if you live around clutter and mess, it's gonna, it's not good for you. If you
Mm,
want to just open your heart and your mind, clean out a closet, clean out a drawer. You don't have to do your whole house at once. Um, I feel it really makes a difference. I feel like I, people laugh at me. I mean, I'm divorced. I'm sharing a house with several guys. It's a nice big house, but sense of taste is not that great, but I love them. But anyway, I was just saying to the guy that owns the house, I have to be surrounded by beauty.
mm-hmm,
I have all these paintings and stuff and artwork from friends, and um, it just lifts me up. And I
mm-hmm.
think it's whatever kind of beauty or organization around you helps that. I think it's really important. I think it's a key to our mental health.
Yeah. Uh, so really encapsulating ourselves in the environment that we want can really be a key to manifesting something, right?
Yeah,
And I know that gratitude plays a huge part in harmony and a lot of other things because if we're not grateful for things, why should we get more stuff, right? Um, but what's your take on gratitude? Because it can be something that some people are like, oh yeah, just be grateful, say thanks, and other people say no, you need to actually like take it in.
yeah.
So, uh,
I am a huge proponent of gratitude. I don't know if you looked at my little resume kind of thing on Podmatch, but yeah, it's and what happens is people like do it like a list and they're thinking from their head and it doesn't work that way.
mhm,
But if you just take time to, they did this study recently because I'm going to be doing like getting out and speaking, and some people like to have statistics. And I don't
uh-huh,
remember who did the study, but they were famous. And anyway, they had three groups.
mhm,
One group wrote in their journal like twice a week, just something heartfelt that they were grateful for that day. The second group was a neutral group. They just wrote, yeah, I went to the library, I went to the grocery store, all these neutral things we do in our life. The third group um, just used it as a dumping ground for everything they were pissed off in their life. And they found that the group that wrote twice a week about things they were truly grateful for in their journal had a 25% increase in their state of mental well-being. I
oh
don't know how they
wow.
measured it, but they were, I don't know, pretty good researchers and everything. And I thought, well, that's really cool. I mean, because I totally believe that having a grateful heart changes everything.
Hmm. That is really cool. I'm well, in recovery, and gratitude plays a huge part of recovery. And I did look at your pod match thing a little bit, and I did see gratitude. I didn't really look too much into it. So gratitude, I know, plays a lot of key factors in, let's just say, harmony, again. But the thing with gratitude is we do have to make it heartfelt. So I love that the study actually backed that up, because I've had to sit there and write out 10 things, for, I think I did it for 3 weeks at first. And I was like, this gets really hard after a while, trying to do 10 things. And it was like, okay, I can see a difference, but digging and finding something that I'm really heartfelt grateful for made me want to hold on to it that much more, you know? Um,
I don't think you have to have a long list. You can just have one thing that touches your heart that day, and you just feel it.
mhm.
Really grateful for it. That you just keep it simple.
Yeah. And so whenever we want to find something that is heartfelt, how would you describe heartfelt to someone if they're having a hard time choosing between, say, five different things?
It's sometimes to me it just feels like the little things. Someone texts you something really nice, or you just you I turn on my cell phone and I love to watch like Britain's Got Talent and America's Got Talent, and some of these singers and dancers, they just, oh my gosh, I'm like, there's tears running down my face. But I mean, they're so amazing. It's so, something like that, they just opened your heart. Or, me, it's music.
Mhm.
It can just be like a really short conversation with a checkout lady at the grocery store. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be big things, but it's just that little connection that happens. I mean, it can just be as simple as you have a dog and it's a great day and you're out there walking and you're just enjoying yourself. I think people try to make it way too complicated.
Mhm.
And there's also that foundational gratitude that we take for granted. I have a comfy bed to sleep in. I can take a hot shower in the morning. I have food I like in the fridge. I have a car that drives, even though it's a 2005. I like my old girl. We have all those things in our life that we just take as we don't even think about.
Mhm.
And so we have it all. We just need to, take a moment to be grateful for kind of even those foundational things.
Yeah. Um, and foundational things, responsibility would be one of those too, right? So, how do you be grateful for responsibility?
I have never had anyone ask me that question before. Um, well, it's not everyone has the ability to be responsible.
Mm.
And if we have the skills and the maturity and the expertise or whatever, and that's probably not the right word, to be actually responsible someplace, that's a gift. Not all
Oh.
people can do that.
Mm.
And I guess what I find with people is that, and myself included, that we have certain gifts that we can do. Like I
Mhm.
can go and write out a blog, but don't ask me to change the oil in my car. So see, people have, and then people who are mechanically inclined, they think it's nothing. To me, it would be like learning rocket science to be able to take care of my car myself. So
Mhm.
I don't know where I'm going with all this. Oh, responsibility, because I can be responsible for the things that I know how to be responsible for, or
Mhm.
someone can show me.
Mm.
And hopefully we learn those skills and abilities as we're growing up, but not always. And we have to do as adults.
I never thought about responsibility being a gift, and that's really cool. I like that. And it does add some light to the perspective that I had the other day, because I was thinking to myself that I have these responsibilities to do, and I've got this and that and another. And thinking about them, I started to weigh myself down. And so I was like, well, how do I get out of saying I have to do this? And I thought usually changing a word can flip the script. And so I said, I get to do this. And so it does make it into that gift aspect, because if I don't get to do that, then I don't have that gift.
Right.
So thank you for that. That is interesting. Responsibility is a gift.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we could do it. A lot of people should themselves. I should do this. I should do that. And when we do
mm-hmm,
that, we can just use the word could. Well, I could do this.
mm-hmm,
And then it sort of opens it up and we can make the decision there. But yeah, responsibility can have a lot of negative connotations that we take on from, the rest of society. And I guess it's up to us to just say, well, that's your stuff. It's not mine. You take it back. And I'll come up with a new way of thinking of that or feeling about that.
Ooh, a new way of feeling about that. And I guess feeling can definitely be one of those things that can hold us back from doing anything in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So how do you coach someone through paralyzing fears or paralyzing moments, even? Because it's stress, responsibility, life, all these things. And sometimes I know myself, I can freeze because there's too many possibilities or I just don't know where to start, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, coaching is like when I'm coaching someone, I'm partnering with them and I'm walking alongside of them. And I think the first thing that a coach can do is that we're taught, and I kind of already had this ability, but it really helped with the coaching and mentoring training that I've had, just to hold a huge judgment-free space. They call it unconditional positive regard. It's just love, a huge judgment-free space of love, and actually listen to the person with what
Mm,
they need to share without having to tell them all of my story because my story is better than your story. And you know how people do that? Um, People just get a lot out of just being heard and understood and not judged. And from then, when they begin to hear themselves, and maybe what we can do as coaches is that we can reflect back what they're sharing and the words that they're using, because oftentimes we don't hear what we're actually saying, and
mm,
like the density and the heaviness of these words. And we can also share what we're noticing about their body language and how they sound when they're talking about it, and all those kind of things that can help to open doors so that they can come to like a new knowing within themselves. So I'm not, I might share an intuition or like something like I just shared with a client, but I'm not going to ever tell them what to do. I
mm.
don't like to be told what to do. That doesn't make me want to run out and do things. So I think when people come up with their own ideas and knowing, and we expand from there, then that's where the real magic happens.
Ooh, I like that a lot because I think that that is right in line with um, a lot of the modalities and stuff that essentially go with saying the person with the modality teaching and knowledge is essentially a conduit, right? They're helping the person traverse the way. They're not uh, putting them in a wheelchair and saying, "Here you go, I got this for you."
Right.
Um, and whenever you do this, you learn as you go too, right? And what are some of the lessons that you've learned as you've started this journey?
Um, don't take things personally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not completely cured on this one, but I'm a lot better than I used to be. I had a coach of mine that says, "Stop saying that you're a lot better than you used to be. It drives me crazy, Arlene." But I'm a lot better than I used to be. Because when you take things personally, you're just going to be on a roller coaster in life. Because how I feel is going to be dependent on how this person talks to me, how this person treats me, whether I get to do X, Y, or Z or not. And then I'm just going. If we're more looking for that love and support from within or from source or however you feel to work with it, it's a lot different. So being a work in progress with it, a lot better with not taking things personally, but being aware when I can feel myself taking something personally and being able to more drop it and fill myself up with more love instead of going down that kind of dark rabbit hole. That's been huge because that just drags you down tremendously.
Yeah. Can you expand on taking it personally? Because some people think that it's not really okay to take anything personally because then you're just not human, right? Or did I mess that up? I think I messed that up.
That's okay. Um, I don't to me, if I'm not, my goal is not to take anything personally, and I'm not, just because I was so way over here with
Mm-hmm.
it. And if I'm not taking things personally, but I'm loving and accepting the person that I'm talking to, or I'm in having some sort of interaction with, or the group, exactly where they're at, all the bright and shiny bits, warts and all, like I'm doing my best to do for myself, then I
Mm-hmm.
can be open to all possibilities. If I have any sort of inclination of taking it personally, to me, that feels like judging myself and or
Mm.
judging them. And that kind of energy is going to drag me down. And so my goal is to be eventually judgment free. It's got to happen somewhere out there in the universe. So got to start somewhere now. But I feel like maybe there's a different way that you're defining taking it personally, because to me, I can be kind, compassionate, right there, fully present with someone. But if they don't like what I'm saying, if they are having a bad hero moment and they're triggered and they project at me or whatever, or even if they're sharing something that's really lovely,
Mm.
and then it doesn't really matter, then my sense of well-being, my sense of who I am is not going to be, there's no roller coaster ride because I'm just sort of an acceptance.
Oh, okay. I see what you're
That's
saying.
my goal. That's my goal. Always a work in progress.
I love that. And it does sound like a work in progress, but the best kind because it's something that you've been able to have milestones of sorts, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And even though a certain experience may not be the milestone, you can still look back and say, well, in this general time zone is whenever the change occurred.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's to me, it's just been like a gradual process. So,
mhm,
and I'm really, really grateful because I've had a few, they're like family members in my life who have just been the best master teachers, really good at pressing my buttons, knowing how to not let go. And so, a lot of that defensiveness that I used to have when that stuff would happen is really beginning to drop away, because I was like, this is not helpful to the relationship for me to get defensive and, have shortness of breath and not be able to stay or breathe. So there's
mhm.
got to be a better way.
Yeah, and I do love how you put in there the part about judging others because that did really shine some light that that could be a personal attack, you know? And I never really thought about it like that, so thank you. Uh, but whenever we're talking about relationships and all that, you also help people with that, right? Because
Right.
that's part of a work-life balance or harmony, rather, right?
Right. And I find that a lot of people, they have it together maybe in one end of their life and not the other. Maybe they're like um really good at work,
Mm-hmm.
and but maybe they don't like all the things that are happening at work. Maybe they're subservient, or they're like the people pleaser or the doormat to get things done and to have people like them, and they'll come home with their
Mm-hmm.
kids or their family and they'll be more of a tyrant, and they don't understand why there's disharmony there, because
Mm.
because there's like everything's sort of out of balance and out of harmony, instead of just going in and being your authentic best self both places. So a lot of people, I find, it's one or the other. It's not, they don't, their whole life isn't in shambles. There's maybe just one
Mm.
area that could really use some work.
Oh, okay. So I do like how you said something, and it was being authentic in both places. So, do you think a lot of people are not authentic in one or the other?
Well, having been a people pleaser and a doormat in an early part of my life, not really knowing how much I was doing it, um, that wasn't authentic. That really wasn't. I was, maybe that's why I became an attorney. I was very good at manipulating my environment to get what I wanted. That
Mm-hmm.
didn't always work, but I could really put on a show, but that wasn't being authentic. So I knew how to do that, and it sort of reverted back to that people pleaser doormat stuff, which is not authentic. I mean, it feels scary to a lot of people to come out and just be your real self, because there's so much, I don't know, posing with with cell phones and all that shit from this younger generation, which is my granddaughter. God love her. I do love her. But where's the authenticity in all of that? And we lose something of ourselves if we're always putting on a mask and posing and not really being who we are. And it's it takes a lot of courage to get out there, because people are going to say mean things and not like you, and especially the more you get out there. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really, people that are really out there in the public life, gosh, that's a lot of projection. I don't, and if you don't know how to really send it back to where it came from and not take that stuff on, it's got to be really, really difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and being able to be authentic is scary. And a lot of the time, people build up a life with the mask on, And so, how do you walk someone through taking the mask off in those times?
I,
Because,
yeah. I think maybe there's a lot of masks that we wear and we just say take one off and there's another one there and we take another one off and another one off. I don't know if it's you just take them all. I guess you do get to the point that they're all gone. I don't know. It's just like maybe I don't have a flat answer for this, but I guess one of the people that really inspired me was I don't know if you've ever seen Brene Brown and her podcast. She did on a TED
mm,
Talk on vulnerability, and in it, she went through how she had to go see a psychologist because of the part of the study that was finding was like falling her world apart. She liked everything to be in very ordered, stacked, and things, and it was like really about
huh,
emotions and feelings, and she couldn't measure it, and she
hmm,
had a little bit of a breakdown over that. But it was so she was so authentic about it, and she
mm-hmm,
brought a sense of humor to it, and I thought, "Wow, that is really courageous," and I mean, it's inspirational when someone really has the courage to get out there and do that. So is it easy? No. Does it take courage? Yes. Is it possible? Yes, because we have people, in our world that are modeling that for us.
mm. I like that. So, one of the things that someone can do is have a role model to show them the way.
Absolutely, because the 5 or 6 most important people in our lives are who we're gonna become more like, and
Mm-hmm,
so it doesn't really have to be somebody living, it could be a person in history, but we wanna have those people or groups around us that, "I wanna be more like you. I'm aligning to the behavior and how you're being," in at least not maybe not all areas, but in some area of the life,
mm-hmm,
because otherwise, if we hang around with people that are just doing a lot of stupid stuff, we're going to end up doing stupid stuff too. So, and I've done that, so I don't want to do that one anymore either.
Oh man. So you're a big proponent of, well, maybe not proponent, but someone that knows well that's saying that you are who your friends are, right?
Yeah, yeah, and we don't really have that many. I mean, people say they have a lot of friends, but you're going to have a small, close group. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just want to surround myself with people that are being authentic, real, and true as they can that inspire me. Even if they're having a rough time, they'll talk about it. They're not like, they don't have their head up a dark place. They're just who they are. I'm not saying they're perfect. None of us are, but I really feel that I am where I am in my life. Not that it's some great pedestal thing, but I am where I am. I've grown because I've been discerning enough to listen to, surrounding myself with people that I aspire to be more like.
Mm. And so how do you deal with uh a possible fact that some of those people either feel like they get left behind or go on with you through your journey? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you know what? I just feel that sort of people in my life has just sort of naturally fallen away. It's like if you don't have like this kind of affinity with them in enough places, you're just like not even, there's no way to interact anymore. So some people that, I went to high school with, they're really lovely. They're part of one of my Facebook group. I love to see what they're doing in their life, but I don't know if I really have any affinity with any of them anymore.
Mm,
It's not a bad thing. I mean, we want to be kind to people, but I don't know about you, but I've just found that some people just sort of naturally drop away.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that part of my neurospiciness is that I don't have that friendship decay mechanism. So I could literally call someone up from middle school and it's like not a day passed, but it's actually been 20 something years and it's like, oh, well, hey, what do we catch up on? But it's one of those things that I myself am a very sensitive person, and so I have that people pleaser anatomy as well, to where it's like, ooh, but I don't want to leave someone behind. But the growth mindset tells me that I'm not leaving them behind. It's kind of like a hermit crab having to choose a bigger shell, in a sense.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that you necessarily have to leave all these friends from middle school behind. You might call them up and go, you have a really great conversation, but they're not in your day-to-day life. They're not like the
Mm,
people that are really impacting you. They're just someone that you care about from the past.
mm-hmm.
And that's different than having that core group.
Yeah, so defining a core group is the people that we want to be like, the people that we want to see do well, and the people that support us, right?
Yeah, and for me, I like to have people in my life that are doing things that I can't do, that I aspire to do.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
and that, are really good at something that I'm not good at, or are just more, I don't know, maybe more loving than I am, or just have qualities that maybe I don't have, because we all have qualities within ourselves, but I want them to have qualities within them that maybe aren't my strengths. And it's not like
Mm,
I'm thinking about it. It's just sort of the people that we gravitate towards, I think.
yeah, so kind of like following your intuition again. You're
Yeah.
being able to kind of see the aspects of people that you are maybe per, perceivingly lacking, and seeing someone have that aspect brings it out more in yourself, right?
Okay, I'm gonna say something. So Keegan, I think you're being way too heady about it. You have a feeling when you're connected with someone. You just have that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to just follow our hearts, and if it
Mm.
doesn't work out, we gave it a good go, and we got some great learning from it, but it's not like a little checklist I have, and I think and you're intuitive and empathic, so it's just about following your heart when you meet people, if they're, and you're not even thinking, well, I wonder if they're going to be a part of my inner circle. I don't do any of that shit. Um, you just have a natural, let's just have a natural flow to it, and not, yeah, that's what I'm just trying to say.
Okay, I mean that's fair, and I'm just asking on behalf of the people that have questions.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to make sure we didn't get too heady about the people, because then you think, oh my gosh, is this not the
Hmm.
right person in my life? And you start getting so stressed about it, and it's like, no, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, nope. So I do love the fact that you brought out the fact that it's also about feeling that spark, that click, and so we can surmise that some people have a quick burn and some people have a long torch,
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that either.
no,
So that's part of the thing, is that some people think that they may be deficient in something, and then uh, blame themselves for losing friends or this, that, or another. And in reality, like you've said, is that we have to hold space for ourselves to be ourselves, right?
yeah, and I think you're making a really good point, because I used to do this so much when I was younger. I would go to some sort of workshop, and there would be some sort of, I don't know, experience that people would have, and people would come out and they'd be, oh my God, and they'd tell about their experience, and I thought there's something wrong with me,
Hmm.
because I didn't have this amazing experience. And I think that the point you're making is really valid, because we all have our own way of doing it,
Hmm.
and it doesn't matter how anyone else is doing it when it comes to having an inner group of friends, or doing anything we are in our life. When we start comparing ourselves with other people, that's just not kind. And it,
Hmm.
sort of like clicks you out of the moment and drags you down. So I think that's a really, really important point for people to hear.
Yeah, and it was a lesson that I've had to continuously improve on and keep on working on, because I find that there's a lot of things I don't like about myself, and I will project that onto other people. And that will sit there and put up roadblocks faster than anything else.
Yeah, I get
And
it. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, nope, after you.
Yeah, I used to do that in relationships. It's like, and that's what you can really see a pattern in people. If you don't clear that stuff within yourselves, you're going to create the same relationship all over and over again. And that's one of the times that I just fell flat on the floor. I
Mm,
was divorced. I had a relationship, then I had another one, and I wanted to make it something that it wasn't, and it was really dysfunctional. Um, and then it fell apart, and I was just like on the floor, looking
mm,
around at all these other people that I knew. Then they were in these perfect relationships. No, um, but yeah, it's I know that fits into what you said somehow. I've just lost the trend of it, but I know it fits in there somehow. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
maybe it has to do with the fact that whenever we're looking at other people and seeing the life that they present, we're looking at their stage. We're not seeing behind the curtains, and we're comparing our backstage to their stage, and backstage there's a lot going on, and seeing someone's front stage and not seeing their backstage leads us to think, or I know for myself, it's led me to think that I'm not doing something right because I have all this other stuff going on in the background. But even though the foreground is somewhat similar, I feel like it's wrong because the backstage is a mess, you know?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just feel like, um, we come into this life to learn certain lessons and clear certain things. And so
Mm-hmm.
some of us come in with more stuff than others. I came in with a lot. Um, and I guess the better I get at just feeling these quote horrible feelings and sort of letting them move through me and just experiencing more gratitude and love and bringing that in, the easier it is because I used to just judge all that stuff too and try to push it away. But all
Mm-hmm.
it does is like boomerang back and hit you in the head like a two by four and you're on the floor. So that's been my experience, of that stuff. And I guess that's why I really love to help people with that kind of stuff because for me, feeling is healing, even if it feels horrible, there we just don't have to make it be our whole self. It can just be a little bit of ourselves.
Ooh, I kind of like that. Can you explain making that uh a little bit better?
Yeah, sure. So oftentimes what I would do is I would do things that were not in my best interest, especially as a teenager and a young woman. I'm sure no one else can relate to that. And then if I thought about that, I would like fall down a deep dark hole and beat myself up for it because,
Mm-hmm.
acts have consequences and that doesn't help anybody. But basically, okay, we have these feelings about, let's say, things that we did, and we're making a story about them and making ourselves feel bad about them. Instead of like diving in there, we can just sort of like what can I learn from this? How would I do things differently if I had another go? And if we're really grateful for the learning and it's like our energy expands out and we're holding this bit of ourselves that's contained inside and we can just sort of turn around. For me, I like ask myself, okay, how old is this bit of you? How old is Arlene inside that's having these feelings? And then I turn around and love her because either she did something to contract because she didn't know how to handle things, or I didn't like her behavior as a teenager, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with you. But if you turn around and love those bits of ourselves, really love them and apologize that I'm sorry I wasn't there, I'm sorry I left you behind, it can start to dissipate and we can call in like more love or more light or more peace and allow
Mm.
that to flood our bodies. Because if we're letting go of the fear, it's going to be a vacant spot. We want to fill it with more love. So that's a kind of an abbreviated version of some of the things that I like to work with people because I mentor people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we just sort of think about them and think about them and think about them and worry about them and worry about them and worry about them, they get so big that it feels like a lot bigger than what it really is because we've blown it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy to do that, and we have to be really diligent not to fall in that trap.
Yeah. And how do we um man, I really do like how you essentially made a bigger room to hold a smaller part of you. That
Right,
and then you also uh what's that saying? Um Essentially if you don't do something with power like a power vacuum, like if there's a power vacuum somewhere, something's going to go and fill it in no matter what it is.
right.
Um but you're saying to not let another bad thing come in that spot and to immediately fill it up with love.
Right, because if we let go of fear or doubt or disbelief and all those kind of things, there's going to be a vacant spot there. And
Mhm.
those cells can fill up with fear just as quickly. So it's important to fill up that vacancy with love. And it's a free will universe. If we don't, even if we don't feel it at first, we can call in gratitude or courage or joy or just any kind of sacred quality or even just unconditional love and ask that it pour through our body and fill us up. Um, the only
Ooh.
thing to remember with that is that when we fill ourselves up with a lot of love, that's going to highlight the fear inside of ourselves. So if more fear
Ooh.
comes up, um, it's not to think, oh, I'm done something wrong. It's just I'm being shown another part that needs to be loved into wholeness.
Ooh, see, I haven't really heard that part yet of uh love shining more light on the fear. or bringing more fear to the light. Um, ooh, that's
Yeah,
really
it
good.
can happen, and people will think, "Well, I'm doing something wrong," but actually,
Hmm.
no, you're getting more proficient at letting go of fear and bringing more love in, which is gonna make those dark bits or those, fearful bits, even more, like, "Wow, that's not a good look."
So whenever someone starts getting to the nitty and gritty with themselves, and they're trying to release some of that stuff, and they're also trying to call in some of those sacred qualities, and how would you tell someone that it's okay if they're not feeling it whenever they're first calling it in?
I would just say, even if you don't, because oftentimes if there's so much fear and everything coming up, it's like it feels overwhelming. It feels like, oh my
Mm,
gosh, I'm never going to feel that love again. And so you just call it in. Even if you're not feeling it, you call it in. You know that it's going to be there working with you. And I mean, I had a friend once who was like just going through a really dark night of the soul kind of thing, and she woke up in the night and she was just like surrounded by fear and she literally for like 3 hours was pacing. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love. Because she just didn't want to be enveloped by all that fear. She was just going
mm,
through a lot of stuff. And
mm,
so, yes, we choose it even if we don't feel it. Eventually, hopefully, we will, without any expectation of when that's going to come through.
mm. Oh, I like that. Having no expectation for it, because it's kind of like planting a seed. You don't necessarily have a like countdown egg timer on a seed.
No, no, and it's a little teeny tiny seedling. It needs to be sheltered and not be shared with other people until it's like a big strong tree, when we plant those seeds.
Hmm. And it's really cool that you define them as sacred qualities. I don't think I've heard love and harmony. Maybe I don't think you said harmony. I just put that in there.
Harmony is a
But
sacred quality.
okay, cool. But sacred qualities, I don't think I've heard them put that way before, and it would really make a lot of sense because it does seem that the universe flows a little bit more in order whenever that's present, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so if you had a list of the practices you do every day to help you, what would some of the first things be that pop off the top of your head?
I do things every day. I get up early and because if you don't do it, you lose it,
Mm,
and so yeah, I do meditate in the morning. I'm not the greatest meditator in the world, but I'm like, this is my time. I'm sitting here. At least I'll do breath work if it feels like it's hard to get into that kind of spot in the mind is racing and stuff like that. And that really helps a lot. There's all different kinds. Um, so you just need to find one that resonates with you. Some take you out of fight or flight mode. Some help to align and center you to love. I always do like a kind of a protection and clearing thing to clear out my energy field, to cut cords with negative and imbalanced energies, to flood myself with light and love. Um, I like to work with the universal violet flame, which is a part of the
ooh,
universe that transmutes and transforms fear into love. And so yeah, that's my morning. And I
oh,
do have a daily yoga practice, a
oh,
little yoga
nice.
community. I'm more of a hardcore, not a like a woo-woo kind of yoga person. Just suits my nature better, but I really find that the breath work with that and being in a community of like-minded people that love the same thing is helpful. But
Hmm.
yeah, I do always have time in the morning. Some of my friends are better in the evening. They're not morning people at all, and the thought of getting up early is like just no.
Mm.
Um, so if it's more in the evening, that's fine too. It's just like in the early hours of the morning or the late hours of the evening, if the energies around are a lot more quiet than in
Hmm.
the busy hours of the day. It's a lot easier I find, to meditate, to clear, to cleanse, and to do those kind of helpful things for ourselves.
Mm. I love that. And I don't know how woohoo you like to get on some things.
I, I'm very out there, so you can ask me about anything.
Okay. Well, you had mentioned the flame and the color and everything, and it immediately made me think of the crystal amethyst because it's also good at transmuting negative into
Yeah,
positive.
yeah,
So,
they're very related. The amethyst crystals. I love crystals. I can't tell you how many crystals I have. I just this is my little baby that I'm holding here today.
And I've got
Pretty
my
cool.
selenite.
I have two big towers, one over there and one over there. Anyway, okay, we have that affinity.
Yep.
Um, so I'm sorry. So yeah, the violet, actually the amethyst crystal does hold the energy of the violet flame. The violet
Oh.
flame is the seventh ray of source. It transmutes and transforms fear into love. And so one way I love to work with it is like have this column of light around me from source into the heart of the planet and call forth the violet flame just to flood down through me into the heart of the planet. And that way, um, any thoughts, any feelings that I have are not about love, I can gift them into the violet flame. I can just let them go. They'll be
Mm.
transmuted and transformed into love as usable energy for the planet. And
Mm.
she's doing it really hard because the judgment of humanity is weighing her down. Can you imagine all that judgment sitting on you?
Mm.
Um, so anything that I can do to help her, to help the planet is it just makes my heart sing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I haven't thought about doing it. Actually, wait a minute. Have I have. I've done something similar and I just never really put it to words because it was all uh not all in my head, but you know what I mean. And it's really cool that Amethyst does all that because I know that I have a huge affinity for all metaphysical. It is one of those things too that I don't really get to talk about a whole lot on the podcast because some people don't really a- attribute metaphysical stuff to anything positive. But it's it's that whole closed mindset, and
Yeah,
that's my personal experience. But that's the thing too is that there's also a happy medium with the metaphysical. Um,
yeah. I mean, I
and
think, yeah, go ahead. Go
oh
ahead.
no, after you, after you.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that are out there I think that are not helpful, like, to just to float above your body and, hang out in those higher realms where it's all blissy and stuff, because the way that we can really make a difference, the way that what happens on inside of us we can take with us, to
Mm-hmm.
where we're going next, is that if we're really fully grounded and present in our body. So my goal is always to bring those energies down and integrate them and actualize them as much as I can and share them as much as I can with Gaia, the beautiful being that embodies the earth. And
Mm-hmm.
so, when we work with the violet flame and we send her the violet flame, um, it's just a really cool way to be of service because no one has to know about it. And and the amethyst crystals can help. They clear other crystals. They're a beautiful crystal.
Mm-hmm.
So and the crystals, the mineral kingdom. There are, it's like the first the mineral, the Davic, the angelics, the plant, the animal, the kingdom of humanity, and the kingdom of souls. So there are a couple of um, what do you call it, kingdoms below us, and they want to work with us.
Mm-hmm.
They want, when we work with them, it helps them to, evolve to the next kingdom, and it's just such a gift to work with them. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I talked around in a big circle there. I hope I made some sense in my
Oh,
mind.
you made plenty of sense to me.
Oh, good, good.
And
At least there's one person out there, right?
um, we are right near the end of this episode, unfortunately. But the thing is, I want to have you back on so that we could talk a little bit more about metaphysics and rocks and all that cool stuff.
Cool, that'd be
Uh,
great. Now, I will tell you, I love rocks. I have friends that can tell you about any rock and their qualities. That would not
ooh.
be me. I just tell you how I feel and how I work with them.
Yeah, and that would be awesome because I've got a great collection myself, and I would love to get an episode where we're kind of talking about what the metaphysical can do for us and our mental health because
Right,
it can actually do a whole lot of good if we use it properly.
right.
Um, and that's the thing is that a lot of the bad stuff that I've heard for metaphysical and stuff is from the people that sit there and dive headlong into it and do nothing but and have that unhealthy obsession. And that's the point is it's unhealthy because there's health and moderation for everything, right?
Yeah, and there's also a lot of people, in the New Age movement that, I mean, what they're doing is just not helpful.
Oh.
And so, I mean, because I worked at a lot of mind, body, spirit fails and fairs, and I do soul readings
Mm.
and work with the crystals and all that. And it was a big deal just to put enough energy around me so I would stay protective and not have all that stuff in there because it's just a lot of funky energy. So just because someone is, doing something that's quote spiritual doesn't mean that their heart open, doesn't mean that they're clear enough, to help you in any way, shape, or form. We have to be really, really discerning.
Mm-hmm. And m- uh, discernment. That was the word. I was like, the discernment is super important whenever it comes to the metaphysical, and I think that's why a lot of people don't know how to really approach the subject, because a lot of people think if they're any kind of closed-minded, then it's not going to work for them at all, and that's actually the opposite. A little bit of skepticism goes really healthily with metaphysical. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but real quick, do you have any shout outs that you'd like to give for yourself?
Sure.
Okay.
So you can come if you're interested in coaching, mentoring, soul readings, anything like that, come to my website, Jewel Consultancy, Jewel consultancy.com, or you can text me at 720-936-2634. Refer to Keegan and his podcast. So I'll text you back and yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Awesome. So everyone out there, definitely check out retrievingsanity.com and go to the guest page to check out her profile and find all of her links there. And Arlene, are you um oh, I forgot. The 988 number got shut down. So there's a Canadian toll-free version for the suicide hotline, and I forgot it off the top of my head. So, once I get that off the top of my head, I'll have it in future reference for the audience. But do you have any last words for the audience?
I would just say that no matter what your feeling or opinion about what we talked about today, it's just really important to follow this trinity of kindness, patience, and tolerance. They go together really beautifully. And just to take time to be kind and to patient and tolerant with yourself. And if you find that you're not, come back to it and say, how can I be kind, patient, and tolerant with myself today?
Oh man, I love that. Arlene, it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure having you on, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation. And everyone out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. And you have a great rest of your day or whenever you're listening to this. And as always, much love. Schlan. All right. And stop. Cool.
I'm just looking, it's 99% uploaded, so that's good.
Um,